Today we take a look back at the brilliant and the bizarre of Fabien Barthez. After navigating a tricky early period, Sir Alex Ferguson often appeared to have everything under measured control at Manchester United, with squad rebuilding seemingly a fluid and effortless transition, allowing the club to dominate English football over a sustained period of time. Despite that, even the great Sir Alex struggled to replace the legendary Peter Schmeichel, with no less than 6 senior goalkeepers in 6 years and many other reserves trialled and tested, before finally finding stability with Edwin van der Sar in 2005. Ferguson had originally targeted the former Ajax stopper in 1999 as Schmeichel's immediate replacement, but Chairman Martin Edwards had already an agreement in place with Aston Villa's Mark Bosnich. Bosnich was largely regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the Premiership at the time. His career, however, at Old Trafford was nothing short of a disaster, with Sir Alex later citing the Australian as a terrible professional. In the year 2000, the Red Devils signed the eccentric bald figure of Fabien Barthez from AS Monaco. The arrival of Barthez effectively ended the United career of the Australian, who moved on to Chelsea and Class A drugs as his life continued on a downward spiral. Barthez's arrival caught the headlines in May 2000 and was finalized just weeks before the Frenchman added a European Championship winner's medal to his already abundantly stocked trophy cabinet. The new number 1 was a blockbuster of a signing. The France international was the undisputed first choice for his dominant nation and a key figure in a brilliant generation of French talent. He had all the makings of a potential United great. Below the surface, however, there were already troubling signs before the keeper arrived in England. Barthez, ever the headline grabber, was suspended for 2 months in 1996 after testing positive for cannabis. His place in the French team was taken by Bernard Lama, who ended up being suspended for the same offence a year later. With both French custodians in disgrace, the jersey was given back to Barthez upon his return, and he would not relinquish it for a decade. Fabien Barthez began his Manchester United career as an international star and widely considered one of the best goalkeepers in the world. The new number 1 was rewarded with a 6-year deal at the age of 28. It was a British record fee for a goalkeeper at the time of £7.8 million, and with his best years surely ahead of him. Upon his arrival, he dismissed the pressure of replacing the club's greatest number 1. He said, "Schmeichel was a great goalkeeper and he played here for a very long time. I need to be strong, but I don't find it daunting. I have played in a World Cup final and a Champions League final. Nothing troubles me." Sir Alex Ferguson was clearly delighted with his new signing and what he believed to be the resolution to a major issue within his team. The Scotsman made it clear that personality and presence were vital in replacing his former custodian, something that he believed both Massimo Taibi and Mark Bosnich lacked. If composure and security were also traits that Ferguson yearned for, then Barthez would prove equally incapable. Barthez, nicknamed the Divine Bald One, arrived at the Theatre of Dreams with numerous domestic accolades. In 1993, he became the youngest ever goalkeeper, aged just 21, to lift the Champions League, securing the double in a brilliant but controversial Marseille team. A clean sheet in the final against AC Milan capped off a sensational season for the youngster. Marseille were later stripped of their League One title amid a match-fixing scandal that led to relegation and the disbanding of one of Europe's most talented sides. Despite numerous approaches from elite French and European clubs, Barthez remained loyal to Marseille and helped guide his side to another title and promotion back to the top flight. In 1995, he moved to AS Monaco, where he won the league title in both 1997 and the year 2000, before finally leaving for the bright lights of Manchester. By this point in his career, he had won 2 French titles, the Champions League, the World Cup, and the European Championship. His pedigree was unquestionable. His debut season in the Premier League was a huge success, helping his new club to the title, their 3rd in a row. Barthez became an instant crowd favourite with his elaborate performances that conjured up some sensational last-ditch saves, with a spoonful of unconventional moments for added flavour. There were numerous incidents that showed his eccentric side to the adoring public, with step-overs becoming a regular pastime for the Frenchman. The English game had rarely witnessed such brazen goalkeeping before, and fans were hooked. Bursting with confidence, United's last line of defence was more than happy with the ball at his feet, taunting and tormenting strikers. A goalkeeper's ability with the ball at his feet is a modern-day necessity and often makes headlines. While Ederson and Manuel Neuer are arguably most comfortable with the ball on the floor today, Barthez was doing the same just 15 years earlier. The Frenchman was adamant that he belonged out on the pitch and not between the posts, often claiming that he was better outfield. He would regularly play up front in training and also played outfield in a friendly under Sir Alex Ferguson. Ultimately, Barthez enjoyed the risk of being a goalkeeper. He thrived on the fine line between brilliance and disaster. The Premier League had seen controversial goalkeepers before, not least Bruce Grobbelaar, but few were like the Frenchman. On his day, he was one of the greatest practitioners of his profession. But when his radar was slightly askew, he was impossible to predict. Whilst his first season saw him answer any doubts surrounding his arrival, there were moments of madness to come. The most notable stain on his impressive first campaign came in the FA Cup 4th round defeat to West Ham. The defining moment saw Paolo Di Canio break the offside trap before finding himself one-on-one with the French stopper. Bizarrely, Barthez stood still, arm aloft, in an attempt to fool the Italian into thinking he was offside. Di Canio slotted the ball into the back of the net, happy to settle any debate later. The result saw United crash out of the competition, with the World Cup winning goalkeeper waking up to a barrage of ridicule in the morning papers. Another bizarre incident occurred in March when Barthez kicked out at Leeds United's Ian Hart after dropping a Robbie Keane cross. The left-back fell to the ground in the 6-yard box and the referee rightly awarded a penalty. Maybe on reflection, Barthez arriving 15 years too early was a good thing. Such behaviour would certainly result in a red card today. The flamboyant Frenchman remained on the field to face the penalty and produced a fine save to deny the previously felled Hart. In 3 minutes, the magic and madness of Fabien Barthez had come to the fore. His theatrics and mind games on the line also drew a great deal of attention. He would regularly stand in front of one post or walk between the two, kicking the turf off of his boots. It would often work well as Barthez encouraged the penalty taker to aim at the opposite corner before springing across to save. Steed Malbranc and Muzzy Izzet both fell to the comical genius of Barthez. Barthez suffered heavily with the second season syndrome as opposing attackers were now aware of his risky exhibitionism. A season littered with high-profile mistakes that inflicted mayhem on his side. Infamous mistakes against Deportivo and Arsenal cast huge doubts over his future, with Thierry Henry, the man who persuaded Barthez to join English football, profiting from two calamitous errors in a 3-1 defeat of Sir Alex Ferguson's men. The first came from a poor clearance that fell straight to the clinical striker, who duly converted the chance. The second saw Barthez slide to cover a through ball that inexcusably slid under his body and straight to the feet of the ruthless Henry. Barthez was publicly backed by his manager, who stuck by his number one for the rest of the season, despite a number of other errors, including being beaten for strength and speed by Michael Owen, a decision that would signal the end of his reign between the Old Trafford posts. Despite his errors, Barthez showed admirable resolve to improve his game and find more consistency as the season wore on, still producing sublime saves on a more regular basis than Calamity. The 2002-03 season also produced a mixed bag for the heir to Schmeichel's throne, with yet more errors and more great saves. Fabien Barthez's last game for Manchester United turned out to be the dramatic 4-3 victory over Real Madrid at Old Trafford in the Champions League. Although winning on the night, United crashed out of Europe on the away goals rule. Brazilian Ronaldo scored a stunning hat-trick, but Barthez received his now customary criticism for the first, which beat him at the near post. Beyond the media criticism and now losing the fans' trust, Alex Ferguson's patience had finally run out, and Roy Carroll replaced him for the final games of the season. It was the end of Fabien Barthez's time in the Premier League. The search for Peter Schmeichel's ultimate replacement restarted in earnest, with Edwin van der Sar finally putting the ghosts to rest in 2005. Barthez returned to Marseille and controversy followed him back to the south of France. Spitting at a Moroccan referee eventually landed Barthez a 6-month ban and all but ended his return. Barthez reluctantly retired before agreeing a deal with Nantes just months later. Just 4 months into his time there, another altercation, this time with a fan, left the troublesome goalkeeper fleeing the city and having his contract terminated by the club. Barthez later enjoyed a successful career in motorsport, winning the French GT Championship in 2013. It would appear that the adrenaline junkie within the bald figure of eccentricity would find his fix elsewhere, and to great success. Regardless of his high-profile errors and ultimate ridicule, many Manchester United fans still hold fond memories of the little Frenchman that plagued Premier League strikers with mind games and nutmegs. Purchased as a solution to a problem, Barthez arguably created more issues than he solved. But amid the madness and the controversy, there was a world-class goalkeeper stacked with agility, tremendous reflexes, and a career that deserves to be remembered in equal parts for his comedy and spectacular talent.
Well, I know what's right.